6 months had passed since Major Kim first entered the Genesis facility. Now he had his own security badge and knew most of the scientists by name. The guards nodded respectfully when he arrived each morning. Today he carried a small notebook in his pocket. He had started keeping track of things that seemed strange. Kim walked through the main lab area where 20 veterans sat in comfortable chairs around the beast's tank. The tank had been redesigned with small private booths, so each person could have their own space with the creature. The beast had grown significantly, now almost twice the size it had been when Kim first saw it. "Major Kim, good morning," Dr. Kang said, looking up from his tablet. Dark circles under his eyes showed he had been working late again. "Are you here to observe today?" "Yes," Kim replied, "and to talk with some of the participants." Dr. Kang nodded. "Li Min is here today. Booth 12. I think you'll be impressed with his progress." Kim thanked him and walked toward booth 12. Through the glass he could see Li Min sitting with his eyes closed, his hand pressed against the partition that separated him from the beast. The creature's skin rippled with waves of blue and green where it pressed against Li's section of the tank. When Li finished his session, he came out smiling. He looked different from the broken man Kim had first met 3 months ago. Li had been a combat medic during the war, watching countless soldiers die despite his best efforts to save them. "Major Kim," Li said warmly, shaking his hand. "Are you checking up on me?" "Just wanted to see how you're doing," Kim replied. "How was today's session?" Li's smile widened. "Amazing. I haven't had a single nightmare in 2 weeks. I actually slept through the night yesterday." He touched his chest. "The weight is just gone. I don't feel guilty anymore when I think about those soldiers I couldn't save." "That's good to hear," Kim said. "Any side effects? Headaches?" "Unusual. Dreams?" Li shook his head. "Nothing bad. Sometimes I dream about places I've never been, but Dr. Choi says that's normal. Just my brain processing things differently now that the trauma is gone." Kim nodded and wrote in his notebook after Li left. Something about all this still bothered him, even though the results seemed positive. He had tried a session himself, last month, focusing on his worst memory, the day he sent 100 young soldiers into an ambush. The relief had been immediate and powerful. For the first time in years, he felt clean. But the feeling didn't last. 3 days later, the guilt returned, though not as strong as before. Kim found Dr. Choi Ji-woo in her office reviewing patient files. As the program's head psychologist, she tracked every participant's mental state before and after their sessions. "Dr. Choi, do you have a minute?" Kim asked from the doorway. She looked up and smiled. "For you, Major. Always." "Come in." Kim sat down and placed his notebook on her desk. "How many participants have we had now?" "We just passed 500, she said proudly. "The results are better than we ever expected. 93% report significant reduction in PTSD symptoms. And have you noticed anything unusual? Any patterns that concern you?" Dr. Choi hesitated. "There are always outliers in any study." "Tell me about the outliers," Kim pressed. She sighed and closed her office door. "About 12 participants have reported unusual dreams. Not just different dreams, but very specific ones. They describe battles they weren't in or people they never met." "Like Li Min," Kim said. Dr. Choi nodded. "Yes. At first I thought they were creating false memories to cope with their real ones, but then I noticed something strange." She pulled up a file on her computer. 2 different veterans, who don't know each other and were never in the same unit, described the exact same dream, down to small details like the color of a building and the name of a dead soldier. Kim leaned forward. "What does that mean?" "I don't know," she admitted. "But I've asked Dr. Kang to look into it." Kim thanked her and left, his unease growing stronger. He walked back to the main chamber where the beast floated in its tank. The creature never seemed to sleep now. Its many eyes opened and followed the movements of people in the room. Its skin constantly shifted colors as it absorbed the emotions of those nearby. "Major Kim." Director Park's voice made him turn around. "Walk with me." They moved away from the busy central area to a quieter observation deck that overlooked the tank from above. "I hear you've been asking questions," Park said. Kim didn't deny it. "Something feels wrong about all this. The beast has changed." Park nodded. "Of course it has. It's growing, adapting. That's what living things do." "It's more than that," Kim insisted. "I need to see the original research. Dr. Hahn's complete notes on the first Leviathan." Park's face hardened. "Those files are classified at the highest level." "Why? The war is over. What are we hiding?" "Not hiding, Major. Protecting. This project is too important to risk any misunderstanding or negative publicity." Kim looked down at the beast, watching as its skin formed complex patterns he'd never seen before. "The public doesn't even know. It exists, and it needs to stay that way until we're ready," Park said firmly. "Focus on the results, Major. People are healing. Isn't that what matters?" Before Kim could answer, an alarm blared through the facility. Red lights flashed along the walls. "What's happening?" Kim asked, instantly alert. Park was already checking her tablet. "Security breach in Section C. Someone's trying to access the secure archives." Her eyes narrowed. Dr. Kang's ID was used. They rushed to Section C where security guards had already detained Dr. Kang. The young scientist looked terrified. "I don't understand," he was saying. "I was in the lab the whole time. My ID card never left my pocket." Director Park turned to the security chief. "Check the cameras." The footage showed Dr. Kang working in his lab at the exact time his ID was used at the archives. Someone had cloned his security credentials. After Kang was released, Kim found him in his small office, looking shaken. "Are you okay?" Kim asked. Kang nodded. "Just scared. If someone stole my ID, I could lose everything." "Or someone wants to frame you," Kim suggested. "Someone who knows you've been looking into the beast's changes." Kang's eyes widened. "How did you know about that?" "Dr. Choi mentioned the dream connections. I assume you've been investigating." Kang looked around nervously, then pulled out his own tablet. "I've been running tests on tissue samples from the beast. The results don't make sense." He showed Kim a complex diagram of cells. "This is from when we first cloned it." He swiped to a new image. "This is from last week. The cellular structure is completely different." "What does that mean?" Kim asked. "I don't know exactly, but look at this." Kang pointed to tiny structures within the cells. "These look like human neural pathways. The beast is developing brain structures similar to humans. Not just one human brain, but many, all connected." Kim thought of the 500 veterans who had shared their trauma with the creature. "You think it's not just absorbing emotions, but storing them somehow? Or storing the people themselves in a way?" Kang looked troubled. "I need access to Dr. Hahn's original research. There must be something we're missing about how the first Leviathan worked." That night, Kim couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the beast and its ever-changing patterns, about Li Min's strange dreams of battles he never fought, about Dr. Kang's discovery of human-like neural pathways growing inside the creature. His phone rang at 2 a.m. It was Dr. Choi, her voice shaking. Her voice, "Major Kim, you need to come to the facility right now. It's Li Min. He's dead." Kim drove through the empty streets, his mind racing. When he arrived, the facility was in chaos. Security teams rushed through the hallways and medical staff crowded around a body covered with a sheet. Dr. Choi met him at the entrance, her face pale. He killed himself in his apartment, left a note. "What did it say?" Kim asked. "That's the strange part," she replied, handing him a piece of paper. "It's not his handwriting." Kim looked at the note. The handwriting was indeed different, more precise, almost mechanical. The words sent a chill down his spine. "They're all inside me now. Too many voices. Too much guilt. Make it stop." Kim looked toward the central chamber where the beast floated. For the first time, he felt afraid of the creature they had created. "We need to shut this down," he said quietly, "before it's too late." Major Kim Jun parked his car outside the tall, gray building. The sign said Genesis Facility in black letters. He looked at the military guards at the front gate and showed them his ID card. His hands were steady, but inside his heart beat fast. The nightmares from last night still felt fresh in his mind. "Major Kim, we've been expecting you. Please follow me," said a young soldier with a clean uniform. Kim followed silently. The 5 years since the Proxima Centauri War had changed him. Once a proud commander, he now jumped at loud noises and woke up screaming most nights. The memories of sending young soldiers to their deaths never left him. The hallways of the facility were clean and white. Scientists in lab coats walked quickly, carrying tablets and talking in low voices. Everyone seemed busy, important. Kim felt out of place in his simple civilian clothes. "Major Kim, welcome to Genesis." A woman with short, black hair and sharp eyes greeted him at the end of the hall. "I am Director Park Sunmi. Thank you for coming so quickly." Kim nodded. "Your message said it was urgent. Something about Project Leviathan?" Director Park's eyes narrowed slightly. "Follow me, please. This is not for open hallways." She led him into a large office with a view of mountains in the distance. The walls were covered with screens showing data and images Kim didn't understand. Park closed the door and pressed a button. The windows turned dark. "What I'm about to show you is top secret," she said. "Only 12 people in the world know about it." Kim waited. He had seen enough secret projects during the war. Park touched a screen, and a video appeared on the wall. It showed a massive creature floating in a giant tank. The beast was like nothing Kim had ever seen. Part whale, part lizard, with skin that changed colors like the surface of an oil spill. It had multiple eyes along its body, all closed as if sleeping. "Do you recognize it?" Park asked. Kim nodded slowly. Every soldier knew about the Leviathan, the beast that had saved Earth by eating the enemy's radiation bombs. The creature created by the brilliant scientist Dr. Han Tae-won. It had been a suicide mission. The creature was expected to die after absorbing so much radiation. Its sacrifice had ended the war. "But that's impossible," Kim said, pointing at the screen. "The Leviathan died. Everyone knows that." "The original Leviathan died," Park corrected. "This is its child in a way. We saved tissue samples and Dr. Han left detailed notes. It took us 3 years, but we successfully cloned it." Kim stared at the floating beast. "Why? The war is over. We don't need weapons anymore." Park smiled. "That's just it, Major. We've discovered it's so much more than a weapon." She touched another screen. "This way, I want you to see it in person." They walked through more hallways and down several floors in an elevator that required Park's handprint and eye scan. The air grew cooler as they descended. The original Leviathan was designed to absorb and neutralize radiation, Park explained, as they walked. But this new version has shown remarkable new abilities. They entered a massive circular room. In the center was a giant tank filled with blue liquid. Inside floated the beast, even larger than it had appeared on the video. Scientists worked at stations around the tank, monitoring screens and equipment. "Dr. Kang, please join us," Park called. A young man with glasses approached. He looked too young to be a doctor, Kim thought. "Major Kim, this is Dr. Kang Do-hyun, our lead neurobiologist," Park said. Dr. Kang bowed slightly. "It's an honor, Major. Your defense of Seoul Station is legendary." Kim looked away. Seoul Station had been a massacre. Yes, they had held the position, but at what cost? Hundreds of soldiers, most barely adults, had died under his command. The memory made his stomach turn. "Tell the Major what you discovered last month," Park instructed. Dr. Kang's eyes lit up with excitement. "We were running tests on the beast's ability to absorb different types of radiation, but we noticed something strange. The creature's skin would change patterns depending on who was in the room." He pointed to the tank. "Watch this." The young doctor walked to the tank and placed his hand on the glass. The beast didn't move, but the skin nearest to Kang's hand shifted from deep blue to a bright sunny yellow. "Now you try, Major." "Dr. Kang," said Kim, hesitated, then stepped forward and placed his hand on the cold glass. The effect was immediate. The creature's skin darkened to a deep, angry red with swirling black patterns. Kim pulled his hand back quickly. "What happened? Did I hurt it?" he asked. "No," Dr. Kang said, his voice soft with wonder. "It's responding to you. To what's inside you." He looked at Kim with sympathy. "The beast responds differently to different emotional states. Yellow for curiosity and excitement, that's what it shows for me, but you—" He paused. "The beast turns dark for people carrying trauma," Director Park finished. "Especially war trauma. We've tested it with dozens of veterans now." Kim looked at the beast again. The dark colors were slowly fading now that he had stepped back. "So what? Some kind of mood ring?" Kim asked, trying to hide his discomfort. Dr. Kang shook his head. "It's far more complex. We believe it's not just detecting emotions, it's absorbing them somehow." Director Park guided Kim to a quiet corner away from the other scientists. "Major, do you still have nightmares about the war?" The question felt like a slap. Kim started to give his standard answer that he was fine, but something made him tell the truth. "Every night," Park nodded. "Most veterans do. The suicide rates are climbing. The therapy programs are overwhelmed." She looked at the beast. "But what if there was another way? What if this creature could take away that pain?" "That's impossible," Kim said. "We have early results that suggest otherwise," Park replied. Veterans who spent time with the beast reported feeling lighter afterward. Some said their nightmares stopped completely. "And you believe that's because this thing is eating their bad feelings?" Kim couldn't keep the doubt from his voice. "We're calling it emotional absorption," Dr. Kang said, joining them. "The beast seems to process traumatic emotional imprints and neutralize them, similar to how the original Leviathan processed radiation." Kim looked back at the tank. The beast had shifted position slightly, as if listening to their conversation. "We're calling it Operation Catharsis," Director Park said, "and we want you to help us test it properly." "Why me?" Kim asked. "Because you're respected, because veterans will trust you, and because—" Park hesitated, then continued more gently. "Because you need healing too, Major." Kim stared at the beast for a long time. Finally, he asked, "What would I have to do?" "Just sit with it. Talk to it. Focus on the memories that hurt the most," Dr. Kang explained. "The beast does the rest." Kim thought about the nightmares, the guilt, the faces of the dead that followed him everywhere. Could he really be free of them? "And if it works?" he asked. Director Park's eyes were hopeful. "Then we scale up. We help everyone who carried the burden of that war. We heal our nation's wounds." Kim looked at the beast one more time. It had shifted again, its many eyes still closed, peaceful in its artificial sleep. "When do we start?" he asked. The emergency meeting room was silent except for Director Park's voice. 1 month had passed since Lee Min's suicide. The program continued, but everything had changed. Security cameras now watched every corner of the facility. Armed guards stood at each doorway. No one smiled anymore. "We cannot shut down the program," Director Park said firmly. She looked tired, with new lines on her face. 562 veterans have been successfully treated. One tragic case does not outweigh that success. Major Kim sat across from her, his hands flat on the table. "It's not just one case. 23 participants have reported severe side effects in the past month. 3 have been hospitalized for mental breakdowns." Dr. Choi nodded in agreement. "The pattern is clear. The early participants are showing the worst symptoms. The longer it's been since their treatment, the more likely they are to develop problems." Director Park frowned. "We're making adjustments, shorter sessions, more monitoring." "That's not enough," Kim said. He pushed a folder across the table. "Dr. Kang and I have been investigating. The beast is changing too quickly, becoming something we don't understand." Dr. Kang, now officially part of Kim's investigation team, opened his laptop and showed everyone the latest scans of the beast. "Its brain activity has increased by 400%. It never sleeps now, and look at this." He played a video of the beast floating in its tank. On the skin of the creature, clear human faces briefly appeared, forming and then dissolving, back into the shifting patterns. Those are faces of our participants, Dr. Kang explained. It's like the beast is trying to show us who it has absorbed. The room fell silent. Even Director Park looked disturbed. There's more, Kim said. We found this in the facility's power system. He showed a chart with a steep upward line. The beast is drawing massive amounts of energy from our generators, far more than the life support systems can explain. What is it doing with that energy? Asked Dr. Choi. We don't know, Dr. Kang admitted. But its mass has increased by 80% while its density has tripled. By all normal biology, this should be impossible. Director Park stood up suddenly. I need to make some calls. This meeting is suspended until tomorrow morning. After she left, Kim, Dr. Kang, and Dr. Choi stayed behind. She's hiding something, Kim said quietly. I still can't access Dr. Han's original research notes. I've been thinking about that, Dr. Choi said. What if Dr. Han never intended the Leviathan to absorb emotions? What if that wasn't part of his design at all? Dr. Kang looked up sharply. You think this is an unexpected mutation? Or deliberate manipulation, Kim suggested. Someone could have modified the clone to give it these new abilities. They agreed to continue their investigation secretly. That night, Kim used his security clearance to enter the facility. The hallways were nearly empty, with only a few night staff and guards on duty. He made his way to the central chamber where the beast floated in its massive tank. The room was dimly lit, the blue glow from the tank casting strange shadows. Kim approached slowly. The beast seemed to be sleeping, its many eyes closed, but as he got closer, the skin nearest to him darkened and shifted. It knew he was there. What are you? Kim whispered. To his shock, words formed on the skin of the beast like ripples in water. Not what they made me to be. Kim stepped back, his heart racing. The beast was communicating. He looked around to make sure no cameras could see this section of the tank, then moved closer again. Can you understand me? He asked. The response came quickly. Yes. Many voices in me now. Many minds. The people who shared their memories with you, Kim said. Are they still inside you somehow? Parts of them. Broken parts. Sad parts. Guilt. Kim thought carefully about his next question. What's happening to the people after you take their memories? Why are they getting sick? The beast's skin swirled with dark colors. Connection remains. Two-way door. I give back what I cannot hold. You're returning the memories to them? Kim asked, confused. Not just theirs. All memories mix inside me. Too many. Too heavy. A chill ran down Kim's spine as he understood. The beast was absorbing trauma from veterans, but as it became overloaded, it was pushing memories back out. Not just to their original owners, but to anyone connected to it. The beast had become a library of pain, sharing its burden with everyone who touched it. Before Kim could ask more questions, he heard footsteps. He moved away from the tank quickly and pretended to examine a monitor as a security guard walked. By the next morning, Kim met with Dr. Kang and Dr. Choi in the hospital cafeteria, away from the facility's cameras. He told them about his conversation with the beast. That explains the shared dreams and false memories, Dr. Choi said. The participants aren't just getting their own trauma back, they're getting pieces from everyone. We need to shut down the program immediately, Dr. Kang insisted, before more people get hurt. Director Park will never agree, Kim said, not without proof that can't be ignored. That afternoon they got their proof. A maintenance worker who had recently participated in the program collapsed during his shift. When medical staff tried to help him, he attacked them, screaming in multiple voices and languages. It took 4 security guards to restrain him. Dr. Choi examined him and found something impossible. The man was speaking Korean, English, and Chinese fluently, despite only knowing Korean before his session with the beast. More disturbing, he wrote messages in different handwritings, each one describing war experiences from different perspectives. Kim brought the evidence to Director Park, who finally seemed shaken. This can't continue, Kim told her firmly. We're playing with something we don't understand. Director Park closed her eyes briefly. There are people above me, Major. Powerful people who see this program as essential. Essential for what? Kim demanded. The war is over. What do they really want? Director Park hesitated, then made a decision. She unlocked a drawer in her desk and pulled out a small drive. This contains Dr. Han's original research, the complete files. Kim took it, surprised by her sudden cooperation. I was a scientist before I was a director, she said quietly. I can't ignore the evidence anymore. Kim, Dr. Kang, and Dr. Choi gathered in a secure room to review the files. What they found horrified them. The original Leviathan was never designed to absorb trauma, Dr. Kang said, scrolling through the documents. It was designed to absorb radiation, nothing more. Then how did this clone develop these new abilities? Dr. Choi asked. Kim found the answer in a classified military addendum. They modified it. Look here. After Dr. Han created the original design, military scientists added genetic material to make it responsive to neural patterns. They wanted to create a weapon that could target specific brain types. That's why they wanted to clone it after the war, Dr. Kang realized. Not to help veterans, but to continue the weapons research. But they didn't understand what they were creating, Dr. Choi added. The beast isn't just absorbing emotions, it's absorbing actual consciousness fragments. Kim stood up. We need to do a complete biopsy of the creature. We need to know exactly what it's becoming. Director Park reluctantly approved the biopsy. The procedure was set for the next morning. That night, Kim couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the words the beast had formed, not what they made me to be. The facility alarm woke him at 4 a.m. When he arrived, chaos had erupted. The beast had somehow broken through the inner glass of its tank. It hadn't escaped. It was still contained in the outer chamber, but it had reached one of the technicians. Instead of harming the man, it had touched him with a long tendril of its flesh. When security pulled the technician away, he was babbling incoherently, speaking in voices that weren't his own. On his skin, where the beast had touched him, dark patterns had formed like living tattoos that shifted and moved. As Kim watched in horror, he realized the truth. The corruption was spreading. The beast wasn't just changing itself, it was beginning to change others. 3 years had passed since the Genesis project began. The facility had changed beyond recognition. The once bright and open laboratory was now a fortress. 3 giant connected chambers housed the beast, which had grown to an enormous size. Its black skin occasionally flashed with images of war. Soldiers running, buildings burning, ships exploding in space. Major Kim stood at the observation window with Dr. Kang and Dr. Choi. None of them spoke. They had all seen too much in the past years. The government representatives are waiting in the conference room, a young assistant said nervously. Kim nodded. Tell them we'll be there in 5 minutes. After the assistant left, Dr. Choi broke the silence. They won't shut it down, no matter what we tell them. We have to try, Kim replied. The beast is changing too quickly now. Dr. Kang looked at his tablet, checking the latest readings. Its brain activity doubled again last night. And look at these patterns. He showed them a brain scan with bright spots of activity. It's organizing memories, creating connections between them. Like it's building a story, Dr. Choi said. They walked silently to the conference room. Inside, 5 stern-looking officials in dark suits waited for them. Director Park sat at the head of the table, her hair now completely gray. Let's begin, she said tiredly. Major Kim, please give your report. Kim stood and faced the officials. The beast has become a serious threat. It's not just absorbing trauma anymore, it's storing and processing it. The neural patterns Dr. Kang discovered show it's developing a collective consciousness made up of thousands of memory fragments, from war veterans. He played a video on the large screen. The beast's skin displayed clear images now. Soldiers fighting, medics trying to save the wounded, ships burning in space. The images played like a documentary of the war. It's trying to understand what happened, Kim continued. It's reliving the war through the memories it absorbed. One of the officials leaned forward. That's fascinating, but how is it a threat? It's still contained, Dr. Choi answered. Of the original 500 participants, 327 have developed severe psychological problems. 42 have died by suicide. The beast isn't healing trauma, it's redistributing it often to people who can't handle the additional burden. Another official frowned. Those are acceptable losses considering the benefits. Kim felt anger rise in his chest. Acceptable losses? These are people, not statistics. The lead official, a cold-eyed man named General Yoon, raised his hand. The military value of this research outweighs the risks. We've learned more about consciousness transfer in 3 years than in the previous 50. This could revolutionize warfare. That's what this has always been about, Kim said, understanding finally hitting him. Not helping veterans. Weapons. Research. General Yoon didn't deny it. The ability to transfer consciousness has immense strategic value. Imagine soldiers sharing battle experience instantly. Commanders able to directly control troops through thought. You're insane, Dr. Kang said. The beast isn't a tool, it's becoming something new, something we can't control. It's contained, General Yoon said dismissively. And it will remain contained. The facility will continue its work under tighter military control. Then we resign, Kim said firmly. Dr. Kang and Dr. Choi nodded in agreement. That's your right, General Yoon replied. But all of you have signed confidentiality agreements. Breaking them would be treason. The meeting ended in bitter silence. Outside the conference room, Kim, Dr. Kang, and Dr. Choi gathered one last time. What do we do now? Dr. Choi asked quietly. We have no choice, Kim replied. We need to stop this ourselves. That night, the three of them met in Dr. Kang's small apartment outside the facility. They had all been thinking the same thing. We need to destroy it, Kim said. But how? The beast is heavily guarded and virtually indestructible. Dr. Kang pulled out his laptop. I've been studying its biology. It has one weakness, extreme cold. The original Leviathan could withstand almost anything except the cold vacuum of space. So we need to freeze it, Dr. Choi said. The facility has liquid nitrogen for the cooling systems. They made a simple plan. The next day would be their last at the facility. They would use their access to sabotage the climate controls and flood the beast's chambers with liquid nitrogen. It wasn't a perfect plan, but it was all they had. The next morning, they arrived early at the facility. Everything seemed normal at first. Kim went to his office to download his final reports. Dr. Kang headed to the maintenance level to prepare the cooling system. Dr. Choi went to her lab to delete her research files. Kim was just finishing when his phone buzzed. A text from Dr. Choi. Come to the main chamber now. He ran through the hallways, pushing past surprised staff members. When he reached the main chamber, he froze in shock. General Yoon stood before the beast's tank. But that wasn't what made Kim's blood run cold. The general was alone in the chamber, standing directly against the glass, his hand pressed flat against it. On the other side, the beast had pressed its flesh against the same spot. The beast's skin was changing, forming clear words visible to everyone. I know what you did. The general's face was pale with fear. The beast continued forming words. I remember the bombs, I remember the children, I remember how you lied. What is happening? Kim asked Dr. Choi, who stood nearby. The beast called him here, she whispered. It somehow sent a message to his phone pretending to be from Director Park. As they watched, the glass of the tank began to crack. General Yoon tried to back away but seemed unable to move. We need to get him out of there, Kim said, moving forward. Wait. Dr. Choi held his arm. Look. The beast's skin was displaying images now. Classified footage of General Yoon ordering attacks on civilian colonies, scenes of destruction that had been hidden from the public. The truth about who had really started the war. Security alarms blared as the glass cracked further. Staff ran in panic toward the exits. Dr. Kang appeared beside them, out of breath. The cooling systems are ready, he said. But we need to clear the chamber first. The glass finally shattered. Instead of flooding out, the liquid in the tank held its shape as if the beast was controlling it. The creature extended a part of itself, a tendril of dark flesh that wrapped around the frozen general. Kim expected violence, but instead, the beast simply held the man there. Then, before their eyes, the general began to change. His skin darkened, showing the same shifting patterns as the beast. His eyes widened in terror as memories not his own flooded his mind. It's making him feel everything, Dr. Choi realized. All the pain he caused, every death he ordered. The general screamed, a sound of pure anguish that echoed through the chamber. Then the beast released him. The general fell to his knees, sobbing uncontrollably, broken by the weight of his own actions. The beast turned its attention to Kim, Dr. Kang, and Dr. Choi. They braced themselves, but the creature made no move to harm them. Instead, it began to reshape itself, pulling its mass together into a more defined form. Slowly, impossibly, it took on a humanoid shape. A figure made from the combined features of countless veterans, eyes, mouths, hands all blended together in a mosaic of humanity. It stood taller than a man, its skin still shifting with faces and scenes from the war. When it spoke, its voice was a chorus of thousands. "You fed me your guilt," it said, the words both in the air and visible on its skin. "But you never asked for forgiveness." Kim stepped forward despite his fear. "What do you want?" The beast, no longer just a beast but something new, looked at him with eyes that contained multitudes. "Justice," it said simply. "Truth." Behind them, facility staff and security guards had gathered at the doors, weapons drawn but hesitating to enter. Director Park pushed through the crowd, her face ashen. "What have we created?" she whispered. Kim looked at the transformed creature and finally understood. "Not what you intended. Something with the conscience you all tried to ignore." The creature moved forward, and everyone except Kim, Dr. Kang, and Dr. Choi backed away in fear. "The war never ended," the creature said. "It lives inside all of you. Inside me." It raised its arms, and the walls of the facility began to shake. The Genesis facility was in chaos. Alarms blared as people ran toward the exits. Guards fired their weapons at the creature, but the bullets passed through its shifting form without effect. The humanoid figure that had once been the beast walked calmly through the halls, touching the walls with hands made of swirling darkness. Wherever it touched, screens appeared, showing hidden truths about the war, secret orders, covered-up attacks, lies told to both sides. Major Kim, Dr. Kang, and Dr. Choi followed at a safe distance. They were afraid but also curious. The creature wasn't hurting anyone, it seemed to have a purpose. "What is it doing?" Dr. Kang whispered. "Exposing secrets," Kim replied. "Telling the truth." Outside the facility, military vehicles arrived. Soldiers, in heavy armor, poured out, forming a perimeter around the building. A voice boomed through loudspeakers. "This is a national security emergency. All personnel must evacuate immediately. Repeat, all personnel must evacuate." Inside, the creature paused as if listening. Then it turned to Kim and the others. "They will try to destroy me," it said in its chorus of voices. "They fear the truth more than they fear me." Kim stepped forward. "What do you want? Maybe we can help." The creature's skin shifted, showing faces of thousands of veterans who had shared their guilt with it. "I want peace. For them. For me. I was made to end a war, but the war never truly ended. It lives in memories, in nightmares, in the lies they keep telling." Dr. Choi moved beside Kim. "The feeding sessions, they didn't heal people, did they?" "No," the creature said. "True healing cannot come from giving away guilt. It must be faced, processed, understood." Its form rippled. "I took their pain, but I could not destroy it. No one can. Pain must be transformed, not erased." The building shook as explosions erupted outside. The military was attacking. "We need to get out of here," Dr. Kang said urgently. The creature looked at them with eyes that contained multitudes. "I will not harm you. You tried to help, even if you did not understand." It paused. "There is something I must do. Will you help me?" Despite the danger, they agreed. The creature led them to the communication center of the facility. As they walked, it told them what it wanted: to broadcast the truth about the war to everyone, to show what had really happened, who had really started it, and how many innocent lives had been sacrificed for power. If people know the truth, they can begin to heal properly, the creature explained. In the communications room, Dr. Kang worked quickly to set up a broadcast that would override regular channels. Dr. Choi helped gather the most important evidence from the facility's classified files. Kim stood guard at the door. "It's ready," Dr. Kang said finally. The creature moved to the center of the room. Its body began to shift again, becoming a living screen that displayed a complete history of the war. Not the version taught in schools, but the real story with all its ugliness and complexity. The broadcast began, sending these images to screens across the nation. Meanwhile, the military forces had entered the building. Director Park led them, her face grim with determination. "Creature must be destroyed," she told the commander. "It knows too much." They reached the communications room just as the broadcast was nearing its end. Soldiers burst through the door, weapons raised. Kim stepped in front of the creature protectively. "Stop," he shouted. "It's not harming anyone." Director Park pushed past the soldiers. "It's destroying everything we built, all our work." "You built lies," Kim said. "It's showing the truth." The creature finished its broadcast and turned to face the soldiers and Director Park. It began to change again, its massive form shrinking, the darkness of its skin lightening. As they watched in amazement, it transformed into a smaller, luminescent creature that resembled the original Leviathan, beautiful and strange but no longer frightening. "What's happening?" Dr. Choi asked. "It's releasing the burden," Dr. Kang realized. "All the guilt and trauma it absorbed, it's letting it go." Director Park ordered the soldiers to capture the creature, but before they could move, the doors to the communication room burst open. To everyone's surprise, a crowd of people rushed in. Veterans who had participated in the feeding program, families of soldiers lost in the war, ordinary citizens who had seen the broadcast. They formed a protective circle around the creature. "We won't let you hide the truth anymore," said an older man at the front of the crowd. Kim recognized him as a former general who had been one of the first participants in the program. Director Park looked at the crowd, then at the soldiers who were lowering their weapons, uncertain. "It's over," Kim told her quietly. The transformed creature floated to the center of the room, glowing softly. When it spoke now, its voice was singular but echoed with the wisdom of many. "I was created to absorb radiation," it said. "Then I was changed to absorb guilt. But neither purpose was right. What I learned from all of you is that pain cannot be simply taken away. It must be faced together." Over the next few days, as the world reeled from the revelations about the war, something remarkable happened. People began coming to the facility, not to feed the creature their guilt, but to sit with it and each other, to talk about their experiences, to listen and understand. Kim, Dr. Kang, and Dr. Choi established a new center where the creature lived freely. They called it the Reconciliation Center. It was transparent, ethical, and open to anyone seeking healing. The transformed beast remained there by choice, helping people process their pain properly. Scientists studied the creature and discovered that Dr. Han's original design had been even more remarkable than they thought. The first Leviathan had been created not just to absorb radiation, but to transform it into something beneficial. Similarly, this new creature could help transform emotional pain into wisdom and understanding. 1 year later, Kim stood on the balcony of the new center, watching people gather in the garden below. Veterans from both sides of the war sat together talking quietly. Families who had lost loved ones shared stories and tears. The creature moved among them, its gentle light helping to guide their conversations toward healing. Dr. Choi joined, him leaning on the railing. Did you ever think it would turn out like this? She asked. Kim shook his head. When we started feeding it our guilt, I thought we were healing. I didn't understand we were just passing the burden to something else. None of us did, she said. But it understood eventually. It taught us. Dr. Kang appeared with cups of tea for all of them. The latest research results are in, he said. The mental health outcomes for people who participate in the reconciliation sessions are remarkable. Real healing, not just temporary relief. Kim nodded, watching the creature below. It had stopped moving and was listening intently to an old woman whose son had died in the war. The creature's light glowed softly around her as she spoke, not taking away her pain, but helping her bear it. The war that nearly destroyed us taught us something after all, Kim said quietly. True peace doesn't come from weapons or from forgetting. It comes from remembering, from facing the truth together, from having the courage to forgive. Below, the creature looked up at them, its light brightening for a moment as if in agreement. The burden it had carried, the guilt of thousands, had nearly destroyed it. But in the end, that burden had transformed into something unexpected. Hope. The beast that ended the war had choked on their guilt. But from that choking had come a new voice, teaching them that no pain was too great to face if they faced it together.